Sitaram viewers, and welcome to another edition of the Hindu Perspective, a program prepared and presented by the Board of Swaha to lend enlightenment elucidation to the national community about the various tenets of Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma. Once again, on today's panel, we have our distinguished Pandits. Firstly, we have our senior Pandit, Pandit Gyandev, member of the Harmandal of Swaha, and of course, we have Pandit Ishar Madhu Maharaj. And as we normally do, we start with our invocation prayer. So I pass over to Pandit Ishwar, who will lead us in opening prayer.
Sitaram, dear viewers, I ask you to bow your heads in prayer, if you're able to, or certainly we can maintain our focus upon divinity. We offer worship to Sri Ganesh Bhagwan and Devi Ma, as we are just about starting this auspicious period of Navratri in our minds. Om Ganganapate Namaha. Om Namaschandikaya. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada. Om Sarva Mangal Mangale Shive Sarvat Sadhike Sharanye Trambake Gauri Narayani Namostute. Om Hrim Shrim Dum Durgaya Namaha. बोले श्री गजानन स्वामी की जय। आदि शक्ति नौ दुर्गा माता की जय। स्वाहा माता की जय।
Thank you, Panditji. And we'll jump straight into our program. And of course, as Pandit mentioned, we are in that period of Navratri. And over the last 2 weeks, we would have celebrated Karmas. And in the last two programs, we had extensive discussions on, some of the requirements, the history of this most auspicious and celebratory period in the Hindu calendar. We would have had representation from Pandit Ishwar, who is a president of Swaha, at our National Power Council across celebrations across the country, and of course, in particular at Arangwe. So just to give a little recap on what took place at these celebrations, I will ask Panditji before we move into the other parts of our program.
I thank you, Panajaidat. So indeed, we would have had a wonderful period where Hindus throughout Trinidad and Tobago, certainly our devotees of Swaha, would have enjoyed various Phagwa or holy festivities. And definitely at Swaha Hindu College and the institutions of Swaha, Phagwa was celebrated in a very meaningful way. We would have had the play done, that's the Prahalad play, with the appearance of Narsingh Bhagwan done at Swaha Hindu College, also at Tulsi Manas Primary and the ECC, Swaha ECC Center in Sangre Grande. So in the east of Trinidad, we had wonderful, preparations and also educating our children and the general public on Phagwa and the origin of Phagwa. And in fact, it was broadcast on IETV also. And then, of course, we would have had beautiful celebrations, again, various temples. I know Sukshanti would have had, again, various other centers that, I don't want to start calling other names and leave out any, but definitely devotees were happy after 2 years not having had the opportunity to join together and collaborate and hold hands and sing and, clap and dance and all the fun and merriment that accompanies the religious aspect of Phagwa, Chautal singing, all of this would have taken place. For 2 years, not being able to, meet with your friends in larger groups like this was a source of frustration for many. So we would have seen devotees coming back together. As I said, we had it at the schools. The schools was mainly playing with powder together with the Chautal, at centers or temples also. But it augurs well for the future, seeing that people once again willing to come together, join together to celebrate. Certainly Swaha also, we were invited by the National Phagwa Council and Pandit Satyanan Gosai, and I want to commend them for the tremendous work that they have been doing to propagate Phagwa. And the authentic celebration of Phagwa or Holi, I will say, with keeping the traditional Chautal alive. Yes, you may have other forms of entertainment, religious dances, and so other types of songs too. but the essence, true essence of Phagwa in terms of the traditional music, the chautal, I saw it being maintained quite well, and I want to commend the National Phagwa Council. And I recall in speaking to the executive there, they were happy, but of course they noted that it wasn't the overwhelming thousands and thousands of devotees coming to play Phagwa and enjoy themselves as we would have had in years gone by. But certainly it is a start and a step in the right direction. So I want to say to the national community, and certainly to our viewers of Swaha, we also want to build and ensure that our Phagwa celebration grows and becomes stronger and bigger every year. We made the point Phagwa is not carnival. It is not Hindu carnival by any way, stretch of the imagination. We can't even think about it in that way, even though others seem to project it in that light. So all in all, I will say we had wonderful celebrations. And in fact, they were broadcast again on IETV. I commend IETV also for the work that they have been doing to promote Phagwa. From Phagwa now, our devotees, our membership, and certainly all of your viewers, I know you were eagerly anticipating the Hindu New Year. So I also, by the time this program airs, we should just about be in the new year. So Shubh Naya Saal or Naya Varsh ki Shubh Kamanaye. I say Happy New Year. May this new year be filled with auspiciousness and blessing for you. And we're in the new year, Vikram Samvat 2080. Panagyandev, I don't know if there's anything you want to add as we begin.
With your permission, Jairat, just a few words on Phagwa. I'm sure I'll give a report, but I want to take it from a different angle. First of all, I'm looking at a media release here by the Water and Sewage Authority. I find very strange and unusual that in Phagwa they cut off water. Phagwa they decide to fix some pipe. And the areas affected are Escuro, Battery, Amova, Lavantil, Belmont, Cascade, Westmoreland, part of Woodbrook. This is according to the release here from WASA. Do these people think about when we have a function coming up? Will they cut off water on Carnival Day, Christmas Day, or other days? Can they reschedule? So I'm asking, when these institutions who are supposed to do this repair work, they say it was decided. Don't they call up, look at the calendar and see what's going on? Do they know that they have Phagwa on the 12th? Then, no. Imagine you're in a Rango Savannah. You're playing Phagwa with a beer. Your whole clothes is wet up with a beer, different colors. You go home, no water to bathe with. It reminds me of COVID time. The Hindus can't burn the dead. Yeah, that's a problem. You go Phagwa and you get messed up, that's your problem. Is that the attitude? So I'm asking, the authorities must be almost sensitive, not just the Hindus, but all religions and all people when they're deciding to do these things. I want to agree with Ishar that the Phagwa was a success, and the song is still in my head. Holy Khele Raghubira, over and over in it. And that is good. Thank God we had no calypso kind of thing inside here, make up English thing. You know why you sing one song over and over? To learn it and to maintain the tradition. And we mentioned about that in the last program. So when people ask why you sing the same song, you could ask why you eat the same food every day, every week? Why you go to the same school every day? Why you drive the same car every day? They don't ask that. We ask why you sing the same song every day. So we have to be a little more particular and make sure people ask the questions. We let them know. So Phagwa, in my opinion, is good. We celebrated some privately, some celebrated publicly, and a Sunday celebration in quite a few areas. And we have to make sure, I'm not sure, maybe you'll find out, what is the government support? Maybe Hindu Phagwa Council could let us know publicly. Would they support it in this venture by the government? Will they be supported? Will they give funding for all the expenses and so on? Hindus are patronarians. You know, previously used to have mostly the organizations used to get funding for celebration of Phagwa. When Trinidad right now going on. So we have to question. We are going to coach, not going to corner and sulk. We are stand up and say this is all right. We are Trinidadians and Phagwa is just as important as Carnival. Phagwa just imported any other function. So we just can't say, well, yeah, done nothing, no problem. We have to stand up. And the Hindu organizations need to stand up. And there are many people who will celebrate different ways, fine. But stand up and make it be known that we have a religious function, a cultural function. If we take a religiousness from it, culturally, every creed and race find an equal place. When I say that, you know what I'm thinking about? We are going to look for it and find it. You have to look all about where places. You're going to look and find all behind the bush all about. Bishanding all about. South and east and west. Every creed and race find an equal place. There is instruction, go and find it. Where every creed and race find equal means every creed and race will be treated equally. So let me not carry on that too much. So I just want to, the National Power Council, I'll make a request to them. But Ishwar is liaising with them. He went, they call him to say a few words on behalf of SWAHA and to address the national population. They should let us know publicly. There's nothing to hide. When people get money from government, there's nothing to hide. It's a matter because groups are asking, we have expenses. It's not that they want money, you know. It's expenses. As one person put it very beautifully, the aim of business is not to make money, you know. Just as I said, the aim of eating is not to live, you know. You understand what I'm saying? You have to eat to live, yes. If you don't eat, you won't live. So if you have a business, don't make profit, you will die. So if you're not getting support, expenses only and not income coming in, the economic area, which Panjeric expand upon, and then eventually the festival will die. And I hope that is not the plan, to make sure if these festivals die, but lack of funding and lack of support. So thank you very much for that. Phagwa was a success in my opinion. 2023, after so long, we get over COVID, yes, still COVID. We're going forward. Phagwa was a success. And hope next year we grow from strength to strength. And if we have to get together as groups and write the Ministry of Culture and publicize it, that we need to get support for our religious and social functions and cultural functions. The Ministry of Culture needs to support all religions, whether it's Baptist, whether it's Hindu, whether it's Christian, whatever, the cultural aspect of it. So thank you very much, Panjay.
Thank you to both pundits. And yes, of course, I think that those are very, very pertinent points. And you know, something like Phagwa, we look at the colors, the abir, multiple colors, and of course, you know, we can find some symbolism that we are multicultural society, a melting pot society, and Hindus have contributed so much to the cultural landscape of Trinidad and Tobago. And something like Phagwa that can represent and persons can identify with having this, you know, this coming together, having fun, and all of these different colors, which represents the multicultural aspects of our country. Something like that is a positive message and indeed can be supported by the relevant authorities. And of course, Panagyandu made an excellent point, and there's nothing that can be gotten without advocacy. And advocacy, you know, that's a concept that I keep pushing in every sphere of my endeavors, whether it be education or social work, that without advocating, we cannot get anything. And most of what we have gotten as Hindus in terms of recognition has come because of strong advocacy. So that what Pandagyani was suggesting is that we need to come together as one community. And if we believe that this is of value to the national community, we are all citizens and we have equal rights. Therefore, we need to advocate to the authorities that these things be supported. And as Panji rightly said, that everything in this world is commerce, in the sense that it is not for profit, but you need to cover your expenses, so that even if it means that different groups are given some funding to buy abir, to hire trucks, so that we can get together and we can go to different venues, so that the celebrations become larger, then that is a starting point. That is something we can do, so that pundits have shared their views. And of course, you know, as they indicated, that it has been a successful period and there was that excitement coming out of the COVID. And of course, you're looking to grow these celebrations from strength to strength. And I'm sure that both pundits will agree with this, that SWAHA is willing to work with any organization that, of course, believes in the right philosophy, maintaining the sanctity of the celebrations and growing the celebrations, you know, from strength to strength. So that Pandit Ishwar, you know, he touched on one aspect of our discussions that are going to take place today, which is the Vikram Samvat, the New Year, is at Panditishwar, and they will talk about that in some more details. But just to give a little context, when we perform puja, you would hear in the beginning we do what is called the puja sankalp, and the puja sankalp will declare that on this particular day, under this particular constellation, in this region, in this part of the world, at this particular address, in this year, this month, this day that we are performing this puja, so that we make that declaration of the sankalp and we begin our puja. And if you listen carefully, and of course, you can listen after this program to the sankalp and you hear the term Vikram Samvat. So Pandit Ishwar, of course, in consultation with other Pandits, but really Pandit Ishwar is the Pandit in the organization Swaha that takes 99% responsibility for the production of the calendar, for the calculation of the dates, putting all of the dates together and guiding all of us, our devotees, guiding the Pandits also in terms of what are the auspicious dates. And therefore, to give us a little more insight into some of these aspects, Vikram Samvat, the year that we're in, and some of the other information that he thinks is relevant, I will now pass over to Pandit Ishwar, and then of course he will pass over to Pandit Gyandev.
All right, thanks, Pandit Jaidat, and thank you for being quite generous in describing my role. I mean, definitely, of course, we all operate under the guidance of the Parmachar, also Ahapanahadu Prasad, and the Dharma Mandal also. And I also want to make the point that even when we do our calendar, we normally verify our dates with a few of the other major Hindu organizations, the Mahasabha in particular, just to ensure that we limit any sort of confusion within the Hindu community, which occasionally occurs. Now, the thing is, we say Vikram Samvat, and it's just a term many people may not know, but you may hear it from time to time. So the term Vikram really refers to a great king years ago, thousands of years ago, rather. His name was Raja Vikramaditya. And so this great king was known for ensuring the propagation of Sanatan Dharma, championing the cause of Sanatan Dharma, and in particular in a region of India, Madhya Pradesh, to be exact, stretching all the way from Madhya Pradesh or middle part of India or Bharat Desh, all the way northwards. Even was described that he even would have engaged in battle with armies that came as far north, that would be northwest, as Afghanistan and so on, and a very powerful Indian ruler. And he was also guided by the way, his capital, that city that was established as his capital, is Ujjain, a city, one of the holy cities. In our Bhandara, Shrad Karam, you hear Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya, Kashi, Kanchi, Avantika, Puri. These are the 7 special holy cities. Avanti or Avantika is Ujjain. And right there in Ujjain, Raja Vikramaditya, together with his Dharma Ratnas, so his ministers, these special, individuals, just as you may have the Dharma Mandal, he had his special ministers who all had, different expertise, astrologers or jyotishis and various other individuals. They came together and they recognized that as a proper system was needed to ensure consistency, to ensure that, you go from one village to the next, there's not too much of a disturbance. So celebrations could be done in a way that bring conformity and consistency, as I'm saying. So if you were to leave one village and you travel for a couple of days to go to another village, by and large, you would see something being done in a very similar way. And the days of religious occasions and observances would be fairly consistent again. Now, even so, as Panagyandu mentioned last program, there still are some discrepancies. So this calendar, which is, primarily used, the Vikrami calendar, as we say, is used primarily in North India, majority of India, but it would have been most popular in North India, and of course, we follow it here in Trinidad and Tobago. And one of the most striking feature of it, of course, is based on a lunar cycle. So rather solar, but we take into account the fact that on this calendar, there are the two fortnights. So there's the Krishna Paksh, there's the Shukla Paksh. So you have the 15 days of Krishna Paksh or the dark fortnight, 15 days of Shukla Paksh or the bright fortnight, and you'll see the Hindu New Year begins in the month of Chaitra, which corresponds to March, of course, this year, and the bright fortnight. So Karwas would have been Chaitra Krishna Paksh, with Chaitra Shukla Paksh is the start of the Hindu New Year. And this Chaitra Navratri, in fact, the first Navratri, that is given great significance. This is actually second Navratri for the year, but there are only two that are given prominence really. Traditionally here in Trinidad, the first one will be the Chaitra Navratri, and the second one is the Ashwin Navratri that comes later on in October. So we are just into the Hindu New Year. Another striking feature is that it is approximately 57 years ahead of the Western calendar, the Gregorian calendar. Now, there are a number of reasons for that, but to go into a deep significance and how that came about, I don't think is necessary at this time, except the way I always put it, and I'm sure many of you may look at it, Sanatan Dharma and our great astrologers and our great thinkers and philosophers have always been thinking far ahead. Far ahead. Just today, I read something, a quotation about the Rig Veda. Rig Veda being the oldest text that is known to man, recognized. There are others who may want to dispute it, but the oldest text known to man being thousands of years, dated as old as 10,000 years old. And even in that Rig Veda, in our Vedas, they mention that the diameter of the earth, 108 times the diameter of the earth, the distance to the moon. 108 times the diameter of the sun, rather, is the distance from the earth to the sun. So how is it that our great saints and sages had this knowledge of not just astrology, but astronomy and science? It was written into our scriptures. These quotations are mentioned there. It shows the great thinking, the high thinking of not just philosophers and pundits and swamis, but true scientists. And this is just what I want to say in introducing the whole idea of this calendar. So we are into the year 2080. There are a number of things that are also unique about it. There's an Adhik Maas this year. So the Adhik Maas comes about approximately every 3 years and a few months. You will have the occurrence of an additional month. So this year, the Adhik Maas, if I were to give you the exact dates, just for your clarification, Adhik Maas starts on the 18th of July and goes until the early morning on the 16th of August, right? So from the 18th of July to very early in the morning, 5:38 a.m. on the 16th of August. And there are certain, restrictions perhaps, but in general, not so much restrictions, but the fact that that month is ascribed great significance to Lord Vishnu. It's called Purushottam Maas. Adhik Maas means an extra month, but Purushottam Maas also, dedicated to worship of Lord Vishnu. So for many people, this is a very special year. Instead of the regular 12 months that we are accustomed to, you have the Adhik Maas, Purushottam Maas, where we can add meaning to our life, make your life even more special. Pandit Jaidat?
Thank you very much, Panditeshwar. That's a very comprehensive explanation, and I'm sure that our devotees, our listeners would have learned a lot from that. And of course, I know it's a lot of information to take in, and the program is aired multiple times. And of course, if you'd like to get further information, Panditeshwar could always be reached at the Hindu College or through the Soho office. And you can reach out to Panditji and you can get more information. I'll pass over to Pandit Gyandev, who can give us explanation. I know that I remember that even when I for myself didn't know what was Purushottam Maas, Pandit Gyane was the one who would have informed the board about this Adhik Maas being called Purushottam Maas, and some of the rituals, etc., that we can do in this period. So Pandit Gyane, we'll pass over to you to share some of your knowledge on this topic with us.
Thank you, Pandit Jaidat. My Ishwar explained beautifully about the 2080 calendar, with the Hindu calendar, Vikram Samvat. I said there'll be a, what you call, that period of time, which is going to start, I think, when are we going to start? This Kharwas, when are we going to start? Sometime.
Adhik Maas 18th of July.
18th, right? And it starts, let me explain, because Ishwar know more about this, but I'll just say, in the beginning of the year, on the 4th of January, we have what we call Makar Sankranti. And people ask, what is Sankranti? Sankranti is when the sun moves to a different constellation. There are 12 planets, there are 12 constellations, right? 12 zodiacs, as a matter of fact. So when the sun moves from one to another, it's called Sankranti. And in January, the Sankranti on the 14th of January, we call Makar Sankranti. It moves to the planet of Makar. And if you know the Hindu planets, it will be Makar and so on. So that in Adhik Maas, there's no Sankranti. Am I right, Panishwar?
Right, yeah.
All right. So when there's no Sankranti, it means there's no movement of the sun as such, and people assume it to be inauspicious. Now, people assume that inauspicious, isn't it? That doesn't mean it's there. This is why in the scriptures they explain it. In Adhik Maas, and just to explain, Adhik means extra, more than. So normally it is song strange. Every year of the Gregorian calendar has 12 months. In the Hindu calendar, it could have 13 months. So this year will have 13 months with the Adhik Maas. And the 13 months comes because there is no movement of the sun during that period of time. So Sankranti simply means the movement of the sun from one constellation to the next, one zodiac to the next. And when it doesn't move, then that is, or it could be when the sun moves to two zodiacs. If there are two zodiacs, movement in two zodiacs, then it can become a Adhik Maas also. So I know in my song I would like rambling, because these are we call things which people study inside out. But for our layman purposes, we are going to do too difficult. You have 12 zodiac, and people have a Gemini horoscope we call it. So it's like that, simple as that. So that when the sun moves from one to the next, it's called Sankranti. And the beginning of the year is called Makar Sankranti. Now, what happened is that I want to clarify, briefly, if I pass back to Jaidat, is that we mentioned this in the last program. Time, very important and very difficult to explain. Now, there's no time except we said Pitr Paksh when people must not pray. Now we are hearing, and I'm not going to quote the source because it's not worthy of quoting, that during Makar Sankranti, during Adhik Maas, you must not do puja, must not do, and this is why, as Prajay rightly said, it's not called Makar Sankranti, it's not called Adhik Maas, it's called Purushottam Maas. And it goes back to the period of celebrated Phagwa, which people have never heard before. Maybe I don't know if you all heard it. Because when that King Hiranyakashipu asked, he said, I don't want to be killed the day or the night, inside and outside, no, any month of the year, any of the 12 months of the year. So there's 12 months of the year. So he was playing smart. If you have 12 months, I can't. So inside, outside, you can still have some kind of leeway. But he said there's 12 months of the year. I will not be killing anyone. So then there's cause to make a 13th month. According to the Brataraj, so this is how the 13th month came up with Adhik Maas. So that he was killed in that time. This was Kharwas time, when he was killed in that time. And those who study with the Hindi, Khar have a lot of meaning. Khar means defect, Khar also means donkey. So there are people who in Kharwas talk about Kharwas and a song like that self, because it doesn't make sense. So that, with all apologies, my apologies to anyone who upsets anything. But Kharwas, as Panjay rightly said, now it is Purushottam Maas. Bhagwan Vishnu said, I will assume this month. I will take lordship over this month. Because every month has their own lord over it as such. So Lakshmi Mata asked that, and Bhagwan Vishnu said, I will take this month as mine personal. So it's called Purushottam Mas. And in the Vrataraj, the authority for all scriptures, it says anyone who does devotion during this time to any form of divinity, any do yag, any puja, any dan, it doubles. It's more than normal. You get more blessed than normal because it is called Purushottam, Vishnu Bhagwan. So that this period of time we have referred to as Purushottam Mas. So by Jairat, Purushottam Mas is what we are dealing with.
Thank you very much for that clarification. So I know that as a month.
One thing, if I could interject, Panajaidat. Sorry, just to add to what Pandit Gandhi was saying, and one thing I neglected, but I think is important. So it isn't also just an addition just for adding's sake. It would have been done again by our great sages to bring some reconcile the difference between the lunar calendar and the solar calendar. So if we are saying it's approximately 29 days to 30 days on average in the lunar calendar, there's a discrepancy there between that and the length of time in the solar calendar, where you would have 31 months or 31 days. So it approximates that difference overall without going to the mathematics of it. A gap, let's say, of 11 days or so each year. Difference between the lunar calendar and the solar calendar, right? Whether it's a Gregorian calendar, Western calendar, however we want to call it. So these approximate now to are approximated every 2 to 3 years, just under 3 years, to make up this additional month. But I want you to think about it. It isn't that anything else has been added. It isn't that any time is lost. So time, as Pandit Gandhi would have mentioned, this is the whole concept of time here. It's something difficult to grasp, but try and understand that it isn't that we have suddenly found time and just put in and made an addition there. It is just simply a modification or an adaptation made to reconcile the two. That difference between the lunar calendar and the solar calendar. As simple as that. And there's so many things, Pandit Gandhi mentioned about things that can be done or should be done. Just think about it. If the month itself is called Purushottam Mas, is a month that has ascribed great significance to Lord Vishnu. That alone tells you, if you're worshiping Lord Vishnu, there are many other different things that have to go along with that. But I'll leave that for another, maybe it's coming up. I don't know what Panajai that is going to ask. So I hand over back to Panaji.
Yeah, thank you, Pandit. And I guess it's very similar to how, every 3 years we have an additional day, right? When you have the leap year and all of that, right? It's just a case of aligning calendars. And while we say we use the lunar calendar, we use the sun also, right? So it's a lunisolar calendar pretty much, because at the beginning of the year, the first Sankranti is always the 14th of January. So that doesn't change in the way that Diwali or Mahalakshmi Puja, etc., would change all the time. That remains consistent.
Correct.
And Panditji, what I wanted to ask also, which would be one of the reasons that there's this disparity between the solar and the lunar calendar. It's also because in the solar calendar, every single day is made up of 24 hours. That is correct, right? But what we call a tithi, which is it's not a day, but it's equivalent to that in the lunar calendar, maybe more or less than 24 hours. And sometimes a tithi may straddle two solar days. And that is some of the reasons that we see that, there's always this, as Panditji mentioned, we consult, not because we are not sure, but we want to ensure that there's no confusion in the mind of the national community. And sometimes those with, negative agenda, they would use these things to say that, look, Hindus don't know what they're doing. They're fighting in the community. When in fact, the day of Diwali, Mahalakshmi Puja, may start on one day and finish on the other day. So that the tithi may straddle to solar days. And sometimes because a tithi is less than 24 hours, that leads to this disparity. And over time, when these things are reconciled, that will lead to this adhik mass, so this extra month. So Panditeshwar, I don't know if that is an accurate explanation, and if there's anything you want to add to that.
Yeah, well, yes, Panajadat, yes, I agree with what you're saying, and just to add a little bit now, when we think of the calendar and so on, and Jyotish and the term Panchang is important. Panchang, we refer to Panch meaning 5 or Panch 5, Ang referring to limbs. So there are these 5 limbs that are considered when we think about a calendar, a Panchang, and in Jyotish. So the first thing is Var. Var referring to the day. So like Ravivar, Somvar, Mangalvar, etc., which Panagyandev spoke about last program. So Var is considered. Then the Tithi. So you have the days of the week, then you have the lunar days. And the Tithis, Tithi, of course, the Var doesn't change. That's Monday, Friday to Friday, then you have Saturday, Sunday. But then you have Pratiprada, referring to the first Tithi, Dvitiya, Tritiya, Chaturthi, Panchami, Shashti, etc., coming down to Chaturdasi, Purnima, or Panchadasi, the 15 Tithi. So you have each Paksh will have 15 Tithis. Now, these could vary in length from, let's say, around 18, 19 hours all the way up to Panaji, even sometimes 26 hours or so. So you'll find that because of this, you have certain little anomalies that occur. And this is why we can't say that a lunar month is exactly 30 days. It could very well be 28 days. It could be 29 days, a little bit more, right? So the reality is there are certain other things too. This is why consulting with your pundit is extremely important. If you have, let's say, a day or tithi that starts after sunrise, so the tithi itself, for let's say Dvitiya tithi starts after sunrise and it concludes before sunrise of the following day. So let's say it starts after sunrise on a Wednesday and it concludes before sunrise on the Thursday morning, then that is called a Chai tithi because it's a tithi or a lunar day then that does not have a sunrise in it. So these are some things that may confuse people, but rest assured that your pundits, your gurus know what they're doing. So when they tell you, you may say, but my days are Thursday and Thursday is good for me. So why is this day bad? Or my days are Wednesday and I want to do my business, so I have to do this. And pundit will tell you, no, you shouldn't do it then. It's a Chai tithi, or he may not even give you the reason, but tell you it's inauspicious. There are a number of reasons for it. So yes, Panditji, that's part of it. So the tithis, we cannot think of the days as being, exactly linear and the time as being exact. This is also explanation in the period of Navratri, why sometimes there are people say, Baba, very difficult to fast this Navratri. Not this one in particular. There are sometimes Navratri straddles almost 10 days. And then there are other times Navratri in 8 days, 8 regular days and 24-hour days, the 9 tithis or the 9 days of Navratri occur. And people get confused. They say, but today's the Ashtami. And when you check Ashtami, you are checking 8 actual days. You are checking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But it's the 8 lunar days according to the Panchang then that we have to follow. So this is why there are slight variations from time to time. And then apart, I mentioned, Var, Tithi, the others to be considered Nakshatra, which is constellation, then Yoga, which could be auspicious or inauspicious, and the Karan, which refers to half of a Tithi. But we don't want to go into any, deep discussion on this, but just to mention that these are 5 of the things that are considered when we look at the calendar and choosing specific dates and so on. Panaji, yeah.
Yeah, thanks very much, Pandit. And I have 2 questions to ask coming out of that, right? But just to see that, that again emphasizes the need for us to consult. And this is why we consult, because we do not want persons to become, confused, and we have 5 different organizations putting on different dates. So there is value in consulting to ensure that all of us as Hindu communities and Hindu leaders that lead the entire Hindu community, we may belong to a different organization, but it is one dharma. We do not want confusion and conflict within our own community. And therefore, all of the organizations have shown that maturity and it's it's commendable that these organizations, including SWAHA, have put aside whatever organizational differences there are to focus on what is best for the Hindu community. And this is the only way that we are going to experience growth. Now, Panditji, both Pandits and you all can give your own views, because this may be a view or this may be factual. I'm not sure myself. I've tried to find the answers to this numerous times. Now, when a child is born, we say, we check 6 days. And do we check 6 tithi or do we check 6 solar days? And when there's death in the family, and we say, Dasgat and Mariam Shodashi, 10 days, 12 days, 13 days, do we check the solar days? Do we check the tithi? And that question came up 1 or 2 times, and I recently, in fact, and I said that, since we are bringing up this topic, I felt that this was the place to discuss this and to bring up this question. So Pandits, I don't know if you can, because, persons would call us and say, check 6 days. And I mean, if you have to check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you really don't need a Pandit to do that. So that, we know the answers, but just for the sake of our listeners, if you can just, our viewers, sorry, if you can provide that information.
Definitely. You want me to go first or Panagandeo?
Let me just make my 2 cents worth and then you will elaborate. In the Garu Puran, the instructions are Dasgat. Das means 10. So you take in normal days, 10 days. So there's nothing about Tithi and those kind of things. Now, when you check the Patra, or the Panchanga, you say, according to Shankaracharya tradition, if it falls on a bad day, like Mul Gandant, or there are other bad days which are inauspicious, then you can do another day. But under normal circumstances, even a child is born in that time, you have to do certain things. You can't stop a child from being born that day. Now, modern medicine might do it, but generally speaking, with nature, you're born that day. So according to our scriptures, the days are checked according to the normal days that we counted. And why in Hinduism we lay emphasis on the sun. Suryanarayan Swami. This is why Makar Sankranti is so important, the 14th day. So Makar Sankranti is the sun. The moon circumambulates the earth, right? But the earth circumambulates the sun. So the emphasis is always on the sun. And we're not going to go into history, but some people, because of various reasons, they try to propagate that the moon is more important than the sun, which is stupidness. So as Hindus, we consider the days. So you have Ravivar, Somar, Mangalvar, Budhvar, Brihaspati, Guru, Shukra, etc. You use those days and count. And those are the things we use for all of our sanskar and so on. And I'll give you one secret from Shankaracharya. He said, most people who have been born don't have what we call the birth chart. People can calculate it. So what we do is try and get into my technicalities with birth and people in India, some people in India do it. And one person said, if a donkey born on that day and a woman born that day, they could get married, it's compatible. If a dog born that day and a cat born that day, it's compatible. So what we're saying, these things are there, and as time goes back, this is why you have Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, and Kalyug. What obtains Satyug, Treta, and Dwapar does not obtain in Kalyug. And people fail to recognize that. In Kalyug, circumstances change. Everything changes. We'll go into detail in this one of these days, one of the programs. So simply put, Panajayat, we count using Ravivar. The sun starts, and we use that and count. After Ravivar is Somar. After Somar, Mangalvar. When we read Shani, Shukra, then we start working on Ravi again. So this is how we normally count it, as far as we are concerned.
Right.
Yeah.
Panditeshwar, yes.
Essentially,
so you can comment on that and talk about the childbirth and all of those.
Essentially, I will agree for the I will say for the most part, I'll agree with Panagandeo G, and yeah, so it is actually the day, the actual day, or the solar days then that are checked, right? Because if you were to check lunar day, I just mentioned things like chai and so on. You can have a chai, so then you will find that you're actually doing Dasgatra in 9 days, right? Or even 8 days based on the length of your tithi. And then that will raise certain eyebrows and concern and so on. And you could end up doing the 6 days and 4 days, right? So in the case of a childbirth. So we do check the days. But the reason for still checking with your Pandit or your Guruji is because many people will check and there's still confusion. People always ask, do you check the day of the funeral? Do you check the day the child is born? They'll say, Baba, the child born 11:15 in the night. So we have to check that day. Check with your Guruji. And I will say, check with your Guru or your Pandit, because Pandits follow certain tradition and certain philosophies. Not that there's variation, but there is some beauty and diversity and variety also, right? So even amongst our Swaha Pandits, there may be minor differences in the advice or the way that people are guided, but the philosophy is consistent and is the same. But the point is, the lunar day is not necessarily taken into account here. You will check the actual day. So the child is born Sunday morning, you start checking Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So Friday then will be the 6 days. But then you still check with your Pandit, because he will give you the timing, he will give you direction, the face based on certain other things he will consider as being important. And then there are certain things that may also mitigate against doing it on a particular day, based on, I mentioned things like the yoga and so on. So certain auspicious days, for instance, Baba may check, your guru or your Pandit may check and see is Mrityu Yoga, which is something that you wouldn't want, or Kal Dand, and will say, you know what, I don't think this is the best day. So instead of doing it Thursday, even though that's the 6th day, I want you to do it Friday morning. Trust in your Guruji, trust in your Pandit. Once you have that faith and that confidence in them, because I'm sure the majority of our Pandits, certainly also our Pandits, will not lead you wrong where this is concerned. So it is the solar day. I'm in agreement with what Panagyandev is saying. Panajaidat? Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I know that brings a lot of clarity to, persons who are confused about these things. And the main point is that, as you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it is more than that.
Yeah.
As Patricia is rightly saying. There are many other factors you check. And of course, when the child is born, you wanna check to see whether the father could look at the child. You wanna see, what the child was born under Shani. If the child is born and there are any bad times, Grahan, all of that. If there are any dangers to the child, and those things are not based on checking 6 days alone. Those are based on some very complicated calculations that your Pandit needs to do, who are trained in these areas. In addition to that, you may want to understand, what is the Rasi of the child. You want to give the Rasi name, Rasi Nam, whichever term you use. And also you want to look at the quality. So, I know that we when we check the patrol, also we see whether it's Rakshas, Nar, Devta, which will tell about the qualities of the child and what you can expect. And if you know the child is going to be is Rakshas, then as a parent, you have to put the right systems in place to train that child, because naturally that child may be difficult. If the child is, not a man, they may be very materialistic. If they are Devta, then, you find that some children are naturally drawn towards spirituality. And you'll want to understand, why is it that my child is different? My child like to bite people, or, my child like to pray. Sometimes it is because they are born under this constellation and this collection of factors that really impacts upon that child. And we say that those things are not important, those things are not real, but those things do have impact on us. They are external forces that impact upon every single one of us. So when you get into this discussion, it may be complicated, and we don't have to understand everything. We don't have to understand all of the technicalities. But the point that we are making is that it is not very simple. And because it is not very simple, but yet it is profound, and it impacts upon us and our entire family, our children, and all of that, then we need to ensure that for all of these occasions, all of these ceremonies that are guided by the Tithi and Panchang and all of that, that we check with our Pandits before we set any dates. It's not something you can say, well, I just go type up on something on Google And, I find that, and that's good enough. It is more than that. It is a lot more complicated than that. And we could never discount the importance of experience. Now, the pundits have experience doing these things for decades upon decades, and there's no substitute for that type of experience. So,
Yeah,
pundit,
Panajji, let me just,
oh yeah,
go ahead, Panditji.
let me just mention, you mentioned two important things, right? But I think it's the appropriate time to explain, not in detail, but just a mention, or we could deal with it in detail afterwards. You talk about Rasi name, people seem to think there's some kind of technical thing. Rasi simply means planetary. You name upon your planet. That's what Rasi means. And most people, Jaidat is not your Rasi name.
No.
Gyani is not my Rasi name. Ishwar is not Ishwar Rasi name. Those are the caller names. So you Rasi name and you have the caller names. And caller names are given. We take example from Ramayana. When Vishwamitra, Vashish, what Sri Ram? What he said. So Ramayana very beautifully. He said he is the liberator. When he was Bharat, Vishwa Bharan Poshan Kara Joi. He will save the world. Lakshman, one who has plenty good qualities. Shatrugna, will destroy all enemies. He gave names according to what he saw. And this is what Jairus the point is making. When you have a 2x4 Baba, with all respect, I know you all like Minnesota's kind of things, right? But when you have 2x4 Baba, he can't give no good name. He can't give a good name for himself. So when you have a person who is qualified, who is spiritual, they could watch a child, they could watch just through, like what Shankar tries to do, just watch and say, right, all of us, he gives us good name, Gyandev, Hardev, Brahmdev, Ishwar, Madhu, Maharaj, Jairat, Ravirat, Chandradat. You have names given by spiritualists who know these things. So this is why I had consult, Panjaz make a good point, consult Japanabaru, consult a quack, to consult a 2x4, who doesn't know anything. How you will know? Well, I don't know, you have to find out. Panditji.
Pandit, sure?
No, actually, I just make me lose my train of thought there, Panagandeo. But considering Rasi, but we'll, when it comes back to me, maybe another program, I'll say it, right? Getting older too. And the other point I wanted to make, going back to what Pandit Jaidat asked in the beginning, with the question, we sort of dealt a lot more with childbirth and Rasi and so on, right? One thing that we are frequently asked, Pandit, do you start checking from the time the person died, or is it from the funeral? And so, even so, it's a little confusing sometimes, but always these 10 days are checked from the date of the funeral. 10 days and then 12 days or 13 days, etc. for the Madhyam Shodashi, the Bhandara, and so on. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I know there's something, even there, the cremation ground people ask, and we tell them, no, it's 10 days, check in today. Right, Panditji? Yeah.
All right. So, Pandits, I know that there are other things that you wanted to discuss today, but once again, the discussions have been very, 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 informative and very passionate, most importantly, and we're already almost out of time. We have 3 minutes remaining. And, I'll just once again want to pass over to the Pandits for any last minute, 3 minutes, any comments you want to make as we wrap up the program. And, Panditji, as the president of SWAHA, we'll always end with you to give any relevant announcements and, of course, our closing prayer. So I'll ask Pandit Gandhi, and then we'll pass over to Pandit Ishwar to close off our program.
Simply, Pandit, we have the SWAHA Hindu calendar. I suggest everybody get a copy. Pandit Ishwar can tell them it's on SWAHA's website. You can get one hard copy from SWAHA's office. Everybody get a SWAHA calendar. That is authoritative. That is the right thing. Thank you. Sitaram.
Right, and thank you, Panagandhi, for that endorsement of our SWAHA calendar. So certainly look at the calendar and you will notice that it was done with a particular purpose. Of course, you'll see highlighted in red various dates and times and so, and where there may be any confusion, the exact timing is actually listed there. So you could you will actually see when Navratri ends. So I'll give you an example. Ram Janam, Ram Navami is the 30th. So in a few days' time will be Ram Navami. And Ram Navami ends at 2 p.m. Sorry, Navratri ends at 2 p.m. Ram Navami, we know, is midday, the appearance of Sri Ram. But the Navratri itself ends at 2 p.m. So the 9th Tithi ends at that time. So be guided by the calendar, even those little details that people sometimes want to pick up the phone and call or message or send email to Guruji for, it is there on the calendar. And please pay particular attention to the days for Purnima, Ganesh Chaut, etc. Certainly, Adhik Maas is there, as I said, but use the calendar as your guide. That is your guide to see the auspicious fasting days. And certainly, it can become something that the entire family uses as a structure in a structured way to ensure their spiritual development and upward mobility. This is what we want. So please refer to a calendar. Also, it is the 30th anniversary of Swaha. This is a big event for us. And coming up next month, and you'll hear more about it in future programs, we have the 30th anniversary celebrations of Swaha in various centers. And we want you all to be a part of it. So I'm sure right here on the Hindu Perspective, we will be doing something special for that occasion. So you could look forward to that. As we join together, as we approach Ramnavami, we focus upon Prabhu Shri Ram. Om Apadam Pahartaram Dhataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Sri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham. Om Shri Sita Ramachandraya Namaha. Bol Siapati Ramachandra ki jai, Swaha Mata ki jai. Sitaram. Do join us next week.